how did living in Korea change your perception of American culture? And for you, how have you seen the perception in American culture here as an exchange student?
I really enjoyed the whole culture of taking off your shoes, going into your room or just anywhere in general, because the way my dorm was set up, there's like it's like lowered before you enter your actual room, so that's where you take off your shoes. And I don't know, I think it's kind of like, the more I thought about it, like, oh my god, Americans, we are disgusting. Because especially when it was really rainy season, you track so much dirt and so much mud on your shoes that it's crazy to think that you walk into your house with all that on the floor and just, it's not very like hygienic. So I really like grew to like, as soon as I get into like anywhere, immediately roll off or take off my shoes. And then the same thing with like bringing umbrellas inside. So, like, that was something I thought was really interesting, is that the first time it rained, everyone leaves their umbrellas outside the dorm room. So, like, if you'd walk in the hallway, just umbrellas everywhere. And that's because you don't want to bring, like, the rainwater into your room and stuff like that, because it's, dirty and everything. So, long story short, Americans have some way to go when it comes to, like, that hygienic stuff that I grew to appreciate while being in Korea.
Before I came here, I tell to myself that everything shouldn't be perfect in here, because I had a high expectation of America. Like, like if you imagine America, like it can be so good and everything's fancy and everyone would be happy, but I didn't think that there would be some place like that in Earth. Like there should be some bad things. So I tell to myself before I'm coming here. So things were so good, the people were so nice. Oh, and the weather was so perfect here. Like, it's so humid in Korea. Yeah, so humid. Like, my hairs are kind of curly, so if I stay in Korea, like, my hairs get like this, but here it's good, yeah. So I don't have to spend my time, like, drying my hair.
Right. So, how have your Korean language skills developed while living abroad?
Well, for me, before going to Korea, I knew like how to read, how to write, I knew the Hangul and everything. However, the sad thing about Pacific is that they don't offer any Korean classes. So I knew that this would probably be a little obstacle in my journey to South Korea. So I decided that when I was studying there, I wanted to take a language course, so I took an immersive one through their Korean Language Institute, which was very different than like the normal Korean course offering that they have. So this one was taught entirely in Korean, and it was a smaller group of students. So from that, I gained kind of like, I wouldn't say too much of a foundation, but like a general foundation, just because Korean has like a lot of grammatical rules that just exist, and for like I think for me it was a little bit easier just to pick it up, just because I already know another language, Spanish, and like I think Spanish like phonetically is very similar to Korean in terms of like Korean is a very phonetic like language. So through that I learned kind of like just a little bit to get me going, but whenever I went out in public, I tried really hard to really immerse myself and try to practice in person. But sometimes I'd go up to the register, like I'm mentally prepared to order in Korean or just converse in Korean, but then a lot of the times the cashier would speak to me in English, and then I'd immediately forget what I was going to say, and I just proceed in English. So that was something I really had to work in, just because I know that language exchange goes both ways. Someone sees like you're an English speaker, they want to practice as well. So for me, like I had to learn, I was like, you know what, it's okay if they speak to you in English, they just want to practice their English the way I want to practice Korean.
What about you, Lisette? As someone who's going to be going, is language going to be some type of focus while you're there?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily for courses, because I am going to fulfill my minor and major courses, so I don't think I'll be able to squeeze in a language course, but it was something I was looking forward to. But in preparation, I have been on those apps, those like language apps. I recently was talking to other people that are also going abroad with me, and in my program as well, and we're all kind of in the same boat where we are learning how to speak Korean through those language apps, and we're like giving each other tips. So I'm hoping, like, I've been trying to, like, immerse myself in, like, I don't know, like, watching, like, a K-drama or something. And I realize I'm probably not going to be perfect, and I think I just give myself a hard time. But I am, like, prepared to mess up, I guess. But I think for me, like, what I'm telling myself that matters is, like, I'm putting in the effort, and I hope that people, like, appreciate and understand that.
I think it's funny because even if you say like one word in Korean, a lot of the time Korean, like in my experience, Koreans will be like, "Wow, you're so good at that." How long have you been here? And then all you said was like, "Ne." So I think that was like, I don't know. For me, at first it was like scary, and I was so anxious about messing up. But a lot of the times they'll be like, "Wow, you're so good," or they'll just be like amazed that you're like trying. Because sometimes I think people have that perception that, especially for like Americans, they don't care about anyone but themselves, or like they don't try to like communicate. So I feel like a lot of people were touched when you like put in the effort to even just say one word in Korean. Yeah. So and also like my funniest stories or my most memorable times were messing up language or just finding the oddest ways to communicate something that I wanted, or like ordering. So it's a fun learning experience, and it's nice when you start learning. It's okay to laugh at yourself. It's better to laugh at yourself than feel embarrassed.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be definitely a humbling experience because like I mentioned, like I did go to Mexico before, and like obviously like I don't think about like having anxiety or anything because I mean I speak the language, but then like I'm like, no, I mean I've been to another country, like it's fine, but then I think about like, well, I didn't have to like struggle with the language at all, so. I was thinking about that, and I think I mentioned it to like Ophelia the other day that it does make me nervous, but like I think I've just been getting in my head that sense of it's okay to mess up, like just put in the effort, try what I can.
What about your experience as an exchange student coming here with the language in English?
If you want to come here, we have to take an English test, the TOEFL. Do you know it? Yeah, you have to take a TOEFL test, and the minimum score is actually quite high. So I had to study a lot. So yeah, I practice how to speak because I have to take a test. But it was different. So, and the speed was so fast here. Like the professor is saying so fast. So at first, like I was, like after 3 class for one day, like there was a headache. Like but yeah, I'm kind of like getting used to it. So yeah, I think the lecture is fine now, but I think my vocabulary is not so good. So yeah, so I try to talk more with English, but I don't know the word in English. So yeah, I just don't talk. Yeah. So I should get it more improved with that. Yeah.
For our last question, what are some words of encouragement and or advice to study abroad?
I would say just have a strong mentality and just know that regardless of any obstacles that you see might hinder you from pursuing study abroad or just like completing your study abroad, know that there's always resources, especially at Pacific. Some of the best support staff are available to help you and guide you at all levels of your experience. So pre-departure, when you're actually there, and then when you return, you'll always have a strong support system of other staff, faculty, peers to support you in every step of the journey. So don't be scared to pursue something different, and there's a lot of scholarships out there, so look into scholarships.
I think what motivated me to like study abroad, and maybe might motivate others, is that there are other people like you. Like for me, like it was like Myra, and especially like as I mentioned, like studying abroad, like for like the Mexican American community is very like scarce. So being part of that like community that does or puts in that first step is already something meaningful to me. And it is something that like I'm proud to like tell like my parents or like even like my family back in Mexico. So I think that's something that can motivate others.
I think study abroad at first have many challenges and difficulties adapting to this society, but like after we adapt and be more comfortable to this society, and when we first feel that this can be kind of my home, like I think this process could be a really big experience for living afterward. Try to adapt to a place you never imagined. Can help you to adapt anywhere you can experience later. So, yeah, everyone should try.
Thank you for tuning in for this episode of the Abroadcast.
You should study abroad.